CEO, wanna change your life? Come see me, yo. I'ma teach you how to build up wealth for your family, not just for yourself. I'm a bestseller, a house flipper, a businesswoman, a go-getter, a big investor, a goal builder. I can teach you to get richer like millions, baby. You really about to fill your savings. You about to have multiple streams to pass your children, baby. Let me teach you to get your credit on track in the long run. You'll make it all back at Catalyst and watch it all psychological black-owned firm, but we ain't all black.
What's up, everybody? It is your girl, Constance Carter. Welcome. It's the Grow Your Money podcast, where we show you how to grow your money and not blow your money. What's happening? As always, you know I love it. I love it here. Who loves it here? I love it here. I love it when we go live. And listen, you know I'm over here stalling too because I gotta undo this thing over here. Hold on. Wait. Never mind. It's acting up. What's up, everybody? What is today? Today's Thursday. It is almost the end of the week. It is Thursday. It's the day before Friday. What's happening out there in gym land? What's happening in gym land? What's going on? How y'all doing? You know, every time we come live, you know I love it. I love it when you talk back to me and talk black to me. So listen, let me see. Where y'all watching from? What's up, Booker? I seen you on here before we even got on here. What's up, Booker? All the way from Fort Worth, Texas. What's up? I need it from the DMV. What's happening? Josephine from Seattle. Hey, Sophia, and from Stockton, California. What's up, Eileen? Listen, I think we're going to have a really rich conversation today. I was actually watching something about spankings, and it's so ingrained in our culture, in the African American culture. And it's so funny because I just found, do I have them in here? I just found some old diaries. I don't know if you Facebook friends with me. I found some old diaries, and I was reading them to my mom, my sister, and my daughter. And I had gotten it in 1985. Christmas of 1985, my cousin had bought me a diary. And so in 1986, it was 1985 the beginning. And so my birthday's in February. So I kept talking about, today, dear diary, today I did this. But in 10 days is my birthday. In 2 days is my birthday, right? And so then it was like, I waited, the next entry was like a month later. And then it was like, my birthday was a long time ago and I didn't get anything but 4 whoopins and $12. And so it just reminded me of some things just growing up, and what sort of was acceptable back then, and how we were raised, and how we raise our children. And is that really effective? Is that the most effective way of parenting? We have so much more information. Where did that stem from? Why do we whoop? Should we be whooping, to whoop or not to whoop? That's the question. But before we even engage in that conversation, first, I want to make sure that you are, if you are a Black-owned business, a Black-owned business, put it in the comments, because we want to shout you out throughout this entire program. And also remember, our good girlfriend, Tiara, she has a Black business diary where she is accumulating all the Black-owned businesses, and she's putting them in directory. She's putting them all in a directory so that you have one resource, one-stop shop, so that you can go and you can patronize Black-owned businesses. Because here's the thing. Let me tell you something. In order for us to make it, we're going to have to work together. So Tiara, listen, speaking of Tiara, do it again. Anybody want to see Tiara? What's up, TJ? What's happening?
What's up, y'all?
Everybody, I know they missed you. I
miss y'all. Mm-hmm. What's up? I miss y'all. Constance, I miss you, sis. Listen, I know I've been having a lot going on, but I swear, y'all, I miss y'all so much. So I'm so glad to be back.
It's been like, 6 months since we seen you?
Oh my God.
Where you been? What you been doing?
Right? So obviously, y'all, good morning. I am preparing. I'm shooting the album cover in 2 weeks, and then my first music video in a month, May 20th, whatever. Okay. I don't know if I have a month. I got a little over a month. And an opportunity came up for me to be an actress. And so I've been meeting with casting directors and all of that. And then, of course, I've been working on Fly Nubian Money Club and, the presentation that never stops presenting. Um, and so I missed y'all, though. Like, I have been in these streets trying to figure it out.
That's good. We missed you. Listen, we wholly missed you.
Oh, good. I see y'all. Hey,
Yeah, nah, man, we missed you. We love your energy. We love your perspective. We love it all. And we got some of the most loyalist people that watch us every single day.
Uh-oh, I can't hear you. Is that me or you? I can't hear you. Is that me?
There we go. No,
Oh,
that's me.
okay.
I said they come every single day and they be ready.
Ready.
But they miss you. But they be here every day. They're loyal to the soil. You know what I'm saying? That's what we say in the Bay. That's what we say, loyal to the soil. But no, but we've been having a really good time. We've been talking about some really good things. And we love interaction. So we love it when they talk back to us and black to us. And we've been having some really engaging conversations. But we always love you when you're here because you always bring a rich perspective.
Well, I'm glad to be back, and I have been watching. So it's not like if I'm not on, if I have the time, I'll be like, let me see what Constance is talking about this morning.
He's talking
And I'll
about
catch,
yeah.
So there's a lot been going on, and you've been covering this.
I'm trying to keep our people up. But let me ask you this. So let's get into it. Cause I know people want to know about the whole idea of the corporal punishment. And we know, slavery that kind of came out of slavery.
Right.
And then also, biblically speaking, people say, there's spare the rod, spoil the child. So for a lot of people, that was justification with people getting spanked. Did you get spanked growing up?
Yes.
You got whooping?
I don't know if it was called a spanking. Like nobody ever said, I'm going to spank your butt. Somebody was like, you're going to get a whooping. And I'd be like,
Did you get a lot of whoopings?
Not a lot of whoopings because I wasn't like bad, but I was, I definitely got whoopings. I got a whooping. Like, y'all, I remember I got a whooping because I was trying to smoke a cigarette under the bed. Yes, my grandmother was a smoker, and I grew up with my great grandmother. And while I used to go and like light her cigarettes, and like when I would come back, I would like take a drag. I was like 4, 5 years old.
No, I did the same thing. They told me to put the
Yes.
cigarette out in the toilet. I was up there.
Yes, but it would be like gross, so I didn't
It's
get it. So
disgusting.
one day I was like, I want to smoke a cigarette. Like I saw a cigarette, it was like smoke the cigarette. I said okay. My brain. I got under the bed. Why under the bed? I don't know. But I was smoking a cigarette. My grandma walked in and was like, "What is all this smoke in here?" I was like, nothing. So I, of course, she was like, "What you doing under the bed?" I was like, "Nothing." She was like, "You smoking cigarettes?" Y'all, I got a beating.
It was a
beating. Yeah, she got a belt and everything.
That was the worst whooping you ever got?
Probably because not the worst, no, but definitely like I never smoked a cigarette ever after that. And I wonder if it's just because it was gross or because I got a whooping. I don't know.
It was probably a combination of the two. It was probably a combination.
So
for y'all in the comments, have you guys got whoopings? Do you guys ever get whoopings? Anybody in here get a whooping? And if you did get a whooping, what was the result? Like, how did you feel? What did it do? Did it help you? Do you think the whooping was good for you? Or do you think it made you worse? I remember 2 whoopings, 2 bad whoopings, and they were the dumbest whoopings. I didn't get whooped. You ever see that? These kids, sometimes kids don't get whoopings for the bad stuff that they do. My cousin all the time, he was so bad, but he never got whoopings when he did bad shit. He only got whoopings when he did, like, it wasn't as bad, but I think it had built up from the bad stuff that she would just get touched. So if he would do a little thing, then she would whoop him, but she wouldn't whoop him. My auntie wouldn't whoop him when he did the bad stuff. But I got a bad whooping when I was 4 years old. I was really, really spoiled. And my dad told me not to take, this is dumb. He told me not to take his basketball out, and I took his basketball and I lost it. And so he told my brother and sister to come get me, and my sister, she hated me back then because I was spoiled. So she was like, I'll get, so my brother was like chasing me, he couldn't get me, he's laughing the whole time, and my sister was like, I'll get her. She wanted me to get that damn whooping. That was a whooping I'll never forget. That was dumb. And then another time I got a whooping, I told my dad I hated him. He was showing out. I think he was showing it out because somebody was there, and I was like, I hate you. And I went upstairs, marched upstairs, and he, I was probably I was probably bad, but he came up there, tore my butt up, and they said it sounded like I was climbing up the walls. They said I sounded like I was scratching the walls. He whooped me all over that damn room.
Oh my God.
So yeah, those are the two whoopings I remember. My
Do you
mom
feel
used to
like it made you better?
no, I don't. I don't. I feel like they're unnecessary.
Mm.
I've whooped my kids too. Now I've spanked. Uh, I would imagine I spanked all four of my kids at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whether it would be a pop, pop. I had to choke my daughter out when she was in high school. I choked her out. I ain't gonna lie. I choked her. She was
Like literally?
yeah, no, I choked her.
Okay.
Um, she had used my credit card and she was, like $600-700, and she was buying like all kind of stuff from Victoria's Secrets and stuff, and like sprays and stuff. She liked to spend a bunch of money on my credit cards. And I remember I went in her room. I think she was just nonchalant about it. And I choked her. She said I was ready to die. She'll tell you the story today. She's like, I was ready to die. I just laid on the bed and she was choking me to the bed like I'm surrendering.
Uh-huh.
So I did put hands on her. And then I probably like popped my boys, and they really, they got whoopings, from the other parent.
Mm.
But to be honest with you, I don't think they're necessary.
Hmm.
And I think when we're like, because it's so ingrained in our culture, Tiara, like when
Mm-hmm.
I was coming up, I was like, oh, I'm gonna whoop my kids. I'm gonna whoop mine. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's because that's the best thing to do. You need to whoop your kids. But I don't really feel like it is the best solution to whoop your kids.
Um, it's interesting because of course we've given Lauren some spankings over the years, and I think that it's backfired on us, like in terms of, I won't get all deep into it today, but I definitely we've given her, like I would spank her hands, like, or like I'd be like, give me your hands, I'll pop her hands or whatever. Or but we have spanked her before, and what in the way that that's backfired is she went to the school the next day and was like, somebody has been like, are you okay? She's like, I'm just emotionally all over the place. And before we know it, the school is calling us saying, well, Lauren said that she got a spanking today. And like, so we started to get those things, and that wasn't worth it, right? When you're starting to get like people questioning you as a parent, when really you're just trying to figure out how to make your child listen better. And so
Yeah.
we started to communicate with her more, and like just try alternative ways, gentle parenting, Jesus. But I don't know if like gentle parenting works all the way either, because the whole point is to have, how do you instill a little fear,
Yeah.
like maybe not the fear of God, but like the fear of like, oh, I don't want my mom to be mad at me. Well, what it came to is Lauren didn't want us to be disappointed. Like
Yeah.
which was good. Like she would cry. She was like, my mom is disappointed. But if
Yeah.
your kids don't really move off disappointment, they like, I don't care. Then
Yeah.
how do you discipline them without some type of force?
So do you think like whooping is it discipline, or is it control?
I think it's both, right? Like where, I mean, where you're saying, I could see in moments where it's just like it depends on the spirit of it, right? So it's like if you're just trying to say like, listen, if you continue to do this thing, this is gonna get you in trouble later on in life. Because why do we whoop, right? Why do we? Because we're trying to prevent our children. We're trying to teach them lessons beforehand, before they get out into the world, and the world beats them,
Mhm.
right? Because well, that's the way I think about it, right? You can't do this, or you're gonna get popped. Maybe not physically popped, but the world is gonna teach you something, and you're gonna be sitting in jail if you don't get the lesson here. So it's
Mhm.
just like us trying to like, I don't know. Would you agree with that? Like, is there a part of you that feels like,
I today at nearly 50, I don't think it's necessary. And I think a lot of times we'll whoop kids, or we'll discipline, or kids will get disciplined. The kids will get disciplined, and they may have some behavioral issues, some mental issues, and then they're getting whoopings for them,
mm-hmm,
or it's a lack of, I think it might be a lack of discipline on the parents' fault, because they can't properly control their children in a way that is meaningful, that they'll listen. I was the other day, my son did something. My boy is 6'1", and I don't think I've whooped him. I may have whooped him or popped him, but I did something. I was like, boy, you And he was like, they know, like, you still, even though the boy bigger than me, he still got, I still put that fear in him, but I think that's
Yeah.
respect
Yeah.
that they have, but it's not based upon me having to beat him to get that respect. They do that because of the authority of me being their mom, of me,
Yeah.
creating boundaries and teaching them and showing them and loving them. And I do believe that when you do things from a place of love, I think that's more powerful than whooping. Because when you're whooping them, to me, and I see what Karen said. She said, if we don't, well, she said, I disagree. They need it sometimes. They can become tyrants without it. But I think it's all in how you lead them. I remember when I was growing up, my cousin, he used to get beat. It wasn't whooping. It was beat. It was first her hand, then it was shoes, and then it was belts, and then it was brooms. Like, and so he ended up just being it made him worse, rebellious. And then when he was 14, the cops ended up beating him, and his mom could have gotten a huge settlement. One of the cops ended up committing suicide. The other one they both got fired. And now he's like maybe in prison or on drugs. He's just a year older than me. But I remember she would just beat him for anything. When we were little, we were tying our shoes. My dad taught me how to tie my shoes. She didn't teach him. She just told him. And if he didn't tie his shoes, and if I tied his shoes, she was going to beat him. Like, it was everything. It was beating for every single thing.
Yeah. No,
that didn't help him.
that's
It actually made him worse. And he ended up beating his wife and his kids when he got older.
Yeah.
So
That's abuse. That's
yeah,
the difference. That's a different, that it's like we love our children. And I'm not saying that she didn't love her child, but I'm saying that there is something to be said about the parenting. Like, again, the intention. If you're just, you know, when I get mad at my daughter, and you kind of have that moment where you like, girl or boy, you better, that moment. I would say that's not the moment to hit your child.
yeah,
That's
when
not
you're
the child,
angry.
because when you're angry, when you're, when you're emotional about it, that's the time not to do anything. You should sit on it and be like, just give me 5 seconds, because if I don't take this 5 seconds, you're gonna be in trouble. And then come back to it and see if you still feel like you need to beat them with a broom. Beating somebody with a broom is yeah. There's a thin line
That's what I
between,
was gonna say.
like,
Is there a thin line between whooping
yes,
and abuse?
yes,
So what is the thin line though? What is the line? Because how do you not cross it where you're
right,
just disciplining? How do
right. A
you how do
couple
you how
pops
do
to
you
let them
whoop
know.
somebody? How do you whoop somebody without being like not angry? Like, can you whoop somebody and not be mad while you're whooping them?
So let me tell y'all, and for a little while, because I didn't grow up with parents, as everybody knows, I was raised by a community of my family, and I was at the mercy of every house that I went into. I was at the mercy of whoever was there. So I lived with my aunt and my uncle was a preacher, and he was very strict. And so he used to be like, I would get in trouble, and it was almost like a psychological abuse, because he would be like, I'm not gonna whoop you now, but I'm gonna whoop you when you least expect it.
Mm,
And so the thing was, I used to just be like, well, am I going to get a whooping today? Because he
yeah.
would just be like calm, right? And then randomly, when I'm getting out of the shower or I'm coming out of the room, he like starts hitting me with a belt,
You're like,
right?
what? What
So,
I do?
right,
No.
you like, oh, wait, right? So I would say, you know, while I look at him, and he taught me so much about life, and he was like, for real, the first dad I ever had. He introduced me to, he was a singer. He played guitar. He bought me a keyboard when I was younger, and he used to be like, you're gonna play keyboard. I used to be like, no, I don't want to play, but he in to balance those things. So there is, I think, when you start to grab brooms and objects, right? In the state of California, you can whoop your kid, you can spank your kid with an open hand on their butt a certain way. And then, but once you get into like objects like belts, brooms, you punching them in the face and all of that, like that's abuse.
Yeah. So me choking
It's
my
a
daughter
it's a
was
place.
abuse.
What'd you say?
I said me choking my daughter, that was abuse. Would you consider that abuse? Because I was done out of anger.
You was,
I was done out of
you was right there,
yeah,
sis. You
yeah,
was
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Because here's the thing, like, and I have to ask you, like, I understand you, and obviously in that moment you were upset,
Mhm.
but let's just say, it was $600 or $700 in the grand scheme of things. That wasn't a whole lot of money.
Mhm.
But it was the disrespect you felt.
Mhm.
So it was just something in you that was like, you ain't gonna be disrespecting me like this, and if
I don't
you
know. I was angry, and
steal,
I think
did you
she
feel
was.
like she stole?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I said I called her a thief. for a minute. And then look, so the next year, I think she might have been a junior or senior, and then the next year she's in college. Now I'm balling at this point, right? So much money, I ain't even looking at the bank. And so she had access to my bank account, and I'm talking to her on the phone, and she's at the store, and she's like, I don't know if I'm gonna have crab tonight, or if I'm gonna have this, or I'm gonna have that. And I was like, crab? This girl is a sophomore in college. How is she affording? Then I got to looking at my bank account, and I'm seeing first month $1,000, second month $2,000, third month three. Like, she is just really like living her best life. You supposed to be a starving college student, and that's the only thing that tricked me. Like, crab? How she afford crab? Like, huh? And I couldn't whoop her. So I didn't talk to her for like 6 months. I didn't talk to her. She came home. When she came, it was so great because when she came home, she had this plastic, big plastic trash bag. She had her clothes in, her hair, she had braids. The new growth was down to here. She just looked really bad. I said, "This is how a college student should live." I didn't start talking to her till I seen her suffer. I wanted to beat it all, but no, but in terms of like, I don't think, for my dad, every now and then, the two whoopings I told you, my dad hated doing it.
Yeah.
But he felt like he had to because that's what he was taught. He hated. He did not. It hurt him. And when they to the kids, the parents be like, "It's gonna hurt me more than it hurts you." A lot of parents don't like to whoop their kids because they love them so much, but they feel that they have to in order for them to learn. But I really feel like there's other ways that we can just talk to them.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just talk about the reason why, really quickly, that you would beat your child, right? There's a submission, like you said, a control that you want. And it very much makes me think of like the mentality of slave masters, right? When they would trying to beat the submission into you, trying to take a part of your esteem, trying to kill a part of your spirit.
Yeah, I think that's what it does, though. I think that's what it does.
You're right. And so there is that. It's like there's a part of you that doesn't like that way about your child. So you're trying to beat that way out of them. And so it makes me think of what you said about your cousin. It's like the way he turned out versus like, what was she trying to like beat the confidence out of him and ultimately she did the self-esteem out of him, beat everything to the point where he thought he wasn't worthy and ended up in all kinds of, like nobody loved him or, it's just really interesting. So I do wonder how that impacts, like kids over like how they take the trauma into their adulthood. You know what I mean? And like, I would have to. I feel like we've done but I can't remember the stats. But I know that it affects. When you're abused. I know that obviously it affects how they grow up, and it's more trauma than anything. I don't think we're trying to traumatize our children. I think it's just like, don't do that. Like, and then that could be it.
Because you got a whooping, did you think it was necessary to whoop your child because you got a whooping?
I thought that it is. It's what I had seen. So I thought that was the way to.
Do you still think that's the only way? Do you still think that's the only way?
No, I don't hit Lauren at all. I don't hit Lauren. Her dad did most of the spanking, but like I said, I might pinch her or like spank. But now she just turned 14. My child is like a whole almost as adult about now. So there's no way.
I got choked when she was about that age.
Like it's that, or we gonna be fighting, and I don't want to fight my kids. So a lot of it is us just chopping it up, and me talking to her every day. We go walking, we talk, and I try to. We go to church. And we talk about what we learned in church. I try to have her around people that can be good influences, because I think ultimately it's repetition. It's that repetition of hearing good things and hearing things like, man, what do you think about, like, some days I'll be like, I'll just try to like work it into our conversation. Like, that girl is so pretty. We'll see a girl and I'll say, she is beautiful. She don't need those lashes, that hair, all of that makeup. She is so pretty. Wouldn't you say that, Lauren? And Lauren will say, yes, she is. And so one day I remember months later, she was like, oh my God, look at her. She is so gorgeous. And she told her she was pretty. She was like, she just doesn't need all those lashes and stuff. Like, oh my God, I just can't wear lashes. Like the things that I kind of like want to curb and the things that I want Lauren to just embrace about herself naturally, I kind of work it into conversation.
Yeah,
It's not
that's good.
manipulation, but I do work it into like self-esteem talks. And when we're walking at the park, I'll just say, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that?
Yeah.
And try to,
No, that's it's not manipulation, but you are shaping your child's point of view. They learn. They're so impressionable, and so they need to have us as the measure of how they're going to be. Really quick, I'm gonna go to this commercial. We'll come back. Have you joined the Grow Your Money Club yet? If not, why not? The Grow Your Money Club is a comprehensive program designed to take you through the complete wealth building journey. We don't just offer random courses, we guide you along a clear path, starting with fixing your credit and becoming a certified credit expert, to building your business, increasing your cash flow, diversifying your portfolio, and ultimately letting your money work for you. With over 30 trainings designed to increase your net worth, you get to either purchase the trainings individually or go through the 12-month roadmap. Here are just a few of the courses. From campus to cash flows, this is teaching your children to become real estate investors. The Wealth Map training shows you how to eliminate your debt, increase your credit, and diversify your revenue streams. You can learn to write your book using ChatGPT. Learn how to build your online community. What about 8 ways to make money using AI? Oh, and here's 7 online revenue streams to fund your $1 million dream. How about learning how to purchase tax deeds or land banks? What about getting started in government contracting? If you're a rookie, the Real Estate for Rookies training has everything you need. The Business Blueprint training will help you build your business foundation, get business credit, get business funding, and learn how to pay yourself so that you can scale your business to the next level. Or perhaps you want to create jaw-dropping video content using CapCut, Midjourney, and ChatGPT. There are so many trainings and master classes within the Grow Your Money Club, and I also drop 1 new training per month. You do not want to miss out on this opportunity to invest in yourself, because guess what? You are your biggest commodity. You are your biggest investment. Join the Grow Your Money Club today. That's the reason why I do this every day, is because I just want to teach people how to grow their money and not blow that. Y'all, look, the other day my dad called me. He said, Niecy, I had to write it down. He said, what did he say? Don't you tell people how they supposed to, here it is. Don't you tell people how they supposed to invest their money, don't waste their money. And I said, no, that is to grow your money, not blow you. He said, why you didn't tell me about acorns? Daddy, I've been talking about acorns for the last 8 years. You talking about why you ain't got me an acorn? So yeah, he told me that. So don't tell people how to invest money and not say something, save your money. But anyway,
shout out to your dad.
Shout out to my pop. But I am going to do an acorns training. By the way, but while I was looking for this video that my daughter and I did on why we have a good relationship, and you know what, your relationship with Lauren reminds me of my relationship with Kyle. But and I was always like, oh, when she grows up, it's going to change, and it just got better. Yes. But this is just a portion of it.
Why do we have such a great relationship? I feel like ever since I was younger, she always treated me like my opinions matter type thing.
Well, do you want your parent or guardians to be your best friend? And what does it look like? Talking about. I mean, we want to hear what you say.
Let me go back.
I feel like ever since I was younger, she always treated me like my opinions matter type thing.
Well, do you want your parent or guardians to be your best?
So anyway, I just want to show you that little clip, because really, she just said, because you listen to me.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
If you really want to have a good relationship with your children, it's simply listening. In fact, when I was looking for that while we were doing the commercial, I seen another one, and I guess I used to torture my kids, but I have another one with me and my boys. This is like in 2021, and I was taking them to school. Let me see, and I was asking them why we got a good relationship. And they hate when I do this, but let me see. Where is it? How do I go to it? Okay.
Oh, you can't hear it. Oh, let me move.
Because what? No, you gotta speak up. Speak up.
Yeah,
You're not getting out the car until you tell me. No, for real. Now, why do we gotta get? No, you're gonna do it today.
Why does it have to be on Facebook? Why does everything gotta be on Facebook?
baby.
All right, you ready? Why do we have a good relationship, Tiara? Why do we got a good relationship? Tell me.
Because you listen to music. Anyway, little bastards. This one right here, the young one, that's the one that's 6'1" right now. He's like the tallest one out of all of them. But it is, I mean, even with all four of my kids, we all have very, very different relationships. And, you know, we have these moments where we can talk to each other, where I try to, you know, get as much as I can out of them because, you know, they need to know that those lines of communication are open. I think that is way more effective than whooping. You know, somebody said you got to beat the tyrant out of them. I don't think kids come, most of them don't come like as tyrants, and how they're shaped is how we teach them. Yeah. So we have to look internally at what is it that we're doing that's making our children behave the way they are, unless there's some type of mental health issue, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's correct. You know, it's so funny because Lauren and I have similar, but she loves, of course, when I turn the camera on, you know, she is her mama through and through.
She's light camera action.
She'd be like, oh, I believe, you know, like she gonna go. But I was just thinking yesterday, I was having a conversation with somebody, and it's just because from the get-go, like my child has been just a little person. Like I've always felt like she was just so, I could just talk to her. When she was like 3 or 4, I was like, well, what do you think about this? And we'd be laying in the bed and I'd be like, well, what do you want to do? And she'd be like, I don't know, mommy. Like, you know, and she would, but I felt like she was a big girl. And fast forward, she just turned 14 a couple weeks ago. And mom, I mean, we really just be chopping it up about everything. Like, it doesn't matter what happens. She runs to her parents. She'll talk to her dad. She'll talk to her mom. But, you know, like she talks to us in different ways. And her dad, of course, is like, well, when you're dealing with girls or boys, you got to know this and that, you know, but ultimately she feels like we are her best friends. And I think
that's good.
And both of her parents, like we've opened that line of communication where we're like, you ain't got to be sneaky. You know, if a boy asks you to be his little girlfriend, I said no. Her dad said, well, maybe. I said, well, you know, we're, you know, so now we're having this conversation in the little, anyway, but we're using life to teach her lessons, right? So we have to open her up to the world to then be like, in this situation, you do this or you do that. You know, but it does get frustrating, Constance.
What do you think about this though? Whoopings are for the parent and not for the child.
Yeah, because your ego is in the way.
Yeah.
Your ego is in the way. You know, all of the way you were reared is in the way. A child is not supposed to talk to you a certain way. They ain't supposed to do. They supposed to be.
I'm the mama,
seen, not heard. They supposed to be all of this stuff. All your stuff, all of our stuff. You know, so it's just like stepping back and not feeling like because you don't whoop your child, it's like that's what white people do. You know, because people say that too. Like, you know, white people. I don't know, but I do wonder because again, we keep talking about it. I always want to bring it back because this is Grow Your Money. But I wonder how whoopings and all of that keep you from being completely yourself in the world, right? And somebody has beat the you out of you. And as an adult, you're walking around a fraction of what you were because somebody's beat you when you were younger. You're saying, I see people in the comments saying it worked, but do you stand up for yourself? Are you a people pleaser? You know, when you want to negotiate at work or wherever, do you do it? Do you have the confidence to do that? I think some of that stems from those interactions. Yeah. You know, being beat.
Think about this though. Think about how when you were small, and this is not for the people who were beat, but when you're small and you just had this imagination where you could do anything and you were free and you had no limitations on yourself. And the more you grew, the more limitations were placed on you by you can't do this, don't do that, stop doing this, be quiet, don't express yourself, all those things. And so they hampered who you are in your essence. And essentially that's what whoopings do. I mean, they hamper who you are. They kill your spirit. I mean, I can't imagine, you know, and I popped them when they was little because you don't want them to get hurt also, right? So you want to pop their hands so they're not touching the eye. You want to do those things. So you want to hurt them so they don't get hurt. But in terms of like, you know, they got bad grades. Well, what's going on? Let's get to the root of the problem, because whooping them is not going to make them get good grades. You know, if they talking back, why are they talking back? Because I talk back to my parents. I remember I was, you know, you get to that point when you're 13 and now they can't tell you nothing because you know everything. My kids do the same thing. Now, I know that's what teenagers do. Do I pop them in the mouth because they doing it? Or do we sit down? Because I remember my dad sat down and said, he's like, Niecy, when you disrespect me, it hurts my feelings. My dad told me that.
Yep.
It killed me. And
it
I
makes
didn't
a difference.
I didn't want to hurt my dad's feelings. And so from that point on, I stopped sassing back at him, because he told me he didn't have to whoop me. He didn't have to beat me, because that may have made me resent him. But he said, it hurts my feelings when you do that. Oh my God, I forgot all about that. I just remembered that right now. But, you know, for me, that was the difference. It wasn't him putting his hands on me when I lost his basketball. Like, that hurt. That was stupid. Why would you whoop me because I lost your basketball? But when you sit down and talk to me, that made a huge difference. And so even for my kids, for me, thinking about, these kids were so innocent. They came in this world so innocent, and how, we've molded them to do certain things because of how we respond and we react to them. And it could be bad or good. So whatever they turn out to be in this world we have a large part to do with that as the parents.
So funny. Yeah. I obviously my 14-year-old just turned 14, and right. So we all with the, I know, I could just be like, you are so cute. She'd be like, I know, like she know everything, right? It don't matter what it is. She know. But the other day we were sitting in the car and I said, Lauren, because she was talking about because her attitude sometimes when I say, Lauren, she'd be like, what? Or not what? She says, yes. I said, oh, you annoyed? Like, I'm trying to feed you or whatever it is. She was like, no, I'm not. So I was we were talking, and it's that little sass that they get as teenagers. I said, well, who do you want to be? She said, I'm so. So she came back to me and said, I'm sorry. I was just on my cycle and I just get emotional, right? I said, no, because I have my cycle too, Lauren, right? But who do you want to be? Like every day that you wake up, like who do you want to be? Do you want to be somebody that got like all this attitude and all like and sassy and like all of this? Like who do you want to be? Don't you let your period make that decision for you, or the way you feel on the inside. Just commit to being like pleasant. If you're going to be pleasant,
that part.
Every day you wake up, I said every day you wake up, and I strive to be a consistent parent. How are you this morning? How did you rest? Pleasant. Because you didn't I didn't probably woke up in a house where it's chaos in the morning. You people yelling at you. You are expected to go to school after that because you're upset. You're upset because the temperament in the house. It's peaceful here. Good morning.
Yeah.
You good? What do you want for breakfast?
Yeah, man.
How you feeling? Right?
Yeah.
So I try. If I said, Lord, if I wake up every day and I do that intentionally, because every day I don't feel like it. What are you gonna do? And she's like, okay, I'm gonna have a good attitude. Okay, just decide.
Yeah, it's a decision. It is a decision.
Yeah.
And and for parents too, because I know I feel bad. This is what I do feel bad about with my kids, because a couple of months ago, my son said something about his childhood trauma. And I was like, boy, we went on 10 vacations a year. We had He said, Mom, you weren't here. Yeah. And I was like, oh. And then I'm thinking, oh my God. So I'm in tears, because I'm disciplined. I do my ramp. I get up, I go to the gym, I go to the office. I'm not home until 10 o'clock at night. I'm saving the world. I'm making moves. I'm building businesses and helping all these people do all these things, but I'm not home. So I'm like, childhood trauma. And he's like, you weren't there. You don't know. And so the times I would be there, I know that like it was chaos in the morning. It was total chaos. And I know when I was there, because like, again, I would get up and go to the gym. I would, their dad was on with them. So it was like, I remember telling him, you can't start their day off like this. You can't start their day off yelling and screaming and hollering and blah. Yes. And so that's all they heard when they were home is that yelling and screaming and hollering. And so I was like, you got to kiss them up. Go and kiss my boys. You got to kiss them up. Say good morning. And we would get to school and it was pleasant. And, when I was taking it was great. And we're on time and all that stuff. It wasn't no pressure. But that made a difference. That set the tone for the rest of their day. It all goes back to us. And then when you think about the verbal, I think that's worse than the physical.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody is cussing you out and they're going off and they're angry and upset at you and they're putting you down, that's worse than the physical.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate Constance. I hate to see videos because I don't curse at Lauren. I really don't. I mean, I don't really curse for real, because the Lord is
Good.
the light of my salvation, all of that,
Good. Because
right?
I be
So I
cussing
try
like
to
a
like
motherfucker up
I
at
try to be mindful of what comes out of my mouth, but for the most part, I don't even like Lauren will play a song. I'd be like, "Is this the radio version?" Because I don't want to hear all that cussing because it makes me cringe a little. Even
yeah.
though sometimes from time to time I curse,
Yeah.
but I don't curse at her
Yeah.
ever.
Absolutely.
But I hate
Absolutely.
to watch a video where be like, "Bitch, come in here," or
Mm.
you talk to your girls like that. Like you talk to your kids like that, where you're literally calling them MFers and just I
I've
feel like
seen
that's
it. Yeah, man.
crazy.
No, it
That's
is crazy.
crazy.
It is crazy. Actually, I didn't start cursing around my kids until they got grown. They never, and they
Yeah.
even to this day, they be like, "You don't even cuss right," because they're so
Yeah.
not used to it. But now I'm like, "Y'all grown," and so I will curse, but if they playing something inappropriate, we ain't doing that. My daughter, I didn't even allow her to listen to the radio, listen to cursing with music until she was like in 8th grade, or no, she had to look at PG until she was like, she went to college so naive. But I was like, listen, I wanted you to be a child as long as possible. So whatever she resents me for sheltering her, but I'm like, you were a child until you left, and then you became an adult, and you had to learn, of course, because all these fast ass kids is way more faster than you.
Amen.
And so she made some mistakes along the way, and she had to learn some things the hard way. But I mean, as long as she was here. But that's what I was saying about Lauren and you. Like, me and Kyle are so close, and I used to be like, oh my God, when she grows up, it's gonna be so different. But it just got better. It just changed. It transitioned, and it's different, and it's beautiful, and I love it. Like, our relationship is like, she's my bestie, but I ain't one of her little friends. It's a beautiful dynamic of just women, and like, she just thinks, and like, when she was little, she never gave me compliments, but now she's always like, Mom, I want to give you your flowers because your heart is so this, or I see you doing this, Mom, and I see you, and that's just years of pouring into, like, it's the positive reinforcement, Tiara. It's like, so when you're whooping them and you're being negative and all of that stays with them, but also
especially as women.
Yes.
Especially as women, as mothers.
Yeah, listen,
like, that makes a difference. It just makes
huge.
a difference.
I will say this, and I'm gonna share my personal business. So the other day, I called my ex about some business that he wasn't taking care of that's in my name. So I call him, and so he didn't call me back. And I call him, and so I have my son call him, and so he answers the phone when my son calls him. So I'm like, "Hey, did you take blah blah?" He starts going off. Right? I don't even talk to this man. He starts going off. Right? And so as I'm talking to him, my daughter comes in and he hangs up on me. Now I'm just like, "Hey, I just need to make sure that you," and he's going off. And so my daughter comes in and she's like, "Did he just hang up on you?" Right? And I was like, so she goes in her room, and I don't see her till the next day. My son didn't flinch. And so the next day, before she went to work, she was like, I was already having a bad day. That took me over the edge. I couldn't deal with it. Like, I just, And so I thought about what she said because it affected her. But I thought about my son and how he didn't even clinch, right? I was like, he didn't even flinch. And so I had to have a conversation with all of my sons because I'm like, you didn't flinch. So that didn't bother you. So obviously you're used to that. And what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to pick that up and take that into your relationships. That's not okay. You don't talk to people like this. You don't do this. You don't act like this. You don't do these things. You don't be toxic. You don't, you know what I'm saying? So I don't want you to think that's normal because you did not, like, it didn't bother you. And I know you heard everything that happened, but the thing about it is they're so used to it that they think it's normal. And so I was like, so for me, I was like, did this happen back then? Then I think it did, but because you're part of it, you don't realize it until you come to remove yourself from it and you living in peace. And now you enter that, you introduce that chaos back in when you have those, open that door. You're like, we don't do this. It's peace over here.
Yeah.
But because they are used to that, and I'm no longer used to that, like, it was like shocking to me. And so then I talked to all three of my boys, and I was like, this is not how you talk to women. This is not how you do this and do that. And then I went to my daughter and I said, I just want to make sure that you're okay and that men don't talk to you like that. She said, well, why do you allow it? I was like, do. But it wasn't that I allow. I just honestly, I take the path of least resistance. I don't engage.
I was about to say, you just want to be peaceful. But you know what?
I don't want to engage in that.
Okay, so I just want to say this real quick to add to that. I don't have a similar relationship now like that with Lauren's father, but because we're not together, there is some parts of him. There's a reason why we're not together, right?
Right.
Along those lines. And so, Lauren used to say stuff like, I mean, y'all don't like each other. And I'd be like, no, I don't have any issues with your father. She'd be like, well, he doesn't like you.
Right. That's what my kids say. He hates you. And I'm like, well.
Yeah. I'm like, why? Like, it's cool. But I understand sometimes when you you would rather something be a certain way and it's not that way. It makes you feel some kind of way. So whether it's like you never chose me as a relation, I don't know. I can't tell you. But it has come out in the way sometimes that he talks to me in front of her. And so I have a lot of conversations with her. And like you said, just trying to be peaceful. But sometimes, like at some point, I was like, nah, you just ain't gonna talk to me any kind of way. Like,
that's what Sophia said. Sophia's like, sometimes you gotta snap back.
Yeah, like sometimes you just gotta get it popping. And so I pick and choose because I don't have the bandwidth to,
That's the thing, the bandwidth. Listen, when I got too much light work to do. I got too much good stuff to do to be like over there and down. I can't do that. It's not fun. That place is stressful and it's dark and it's negative. And I got light work. I gotta help people. I gotta, I gotta be. So that's why I just, I don't even try to engage in that, but I get it. But let me tell you something. The reason why I'm in this mess right now with me having to deal with some of this bullshit is because I just wanted to be done and I rushed and I took on some responsibility that I shouldn't because I just wanted to be done. And now I got to still deal with that because of, I just was just trying to take the path of least resistance. And
I was going to say, because you was trying to be nice, because you was trying to be nice and you not even trying to be nice, just being like, okay, because I've been with this person for 11 years. I just want my life back, gone about your business, right? Yes. But sometimes you got to knuck until you listen. You got to knuck.
You know how much energy knucking takes?
Yes. It's tough. Like, women don't want to do that. And women don't want to do that.
It already ain't enough hours in the day with the shit that matters. Mm-hmm. And me going off on this person who's not going to listen is not going to do anything. It's really not going to change anything. So then I've just wasted energy, just elevating my blood pressure for what?
Yeah. So let me ask the audience then, y'all. So because I've been heavy on conflict resolution skills. Like I talk to a therapist every Tuesday. We talk about it, right? But how do you, when you're in situations like that with people who are difficult? Right? Like I hate dealing with difficult people because of the nature of the business I work in. I'm like you, Constance, where I'll just be like, okay, let's just get to a resolution so we can move on and everything can be good. Right? Like, but sometimes that's not the way. Sometimes you got to let it know that I'm not playing with you. So I want to know from the audience, how, in what ways do you let people know that you ain't playing without it sucking the life out of you?
Sophia said, I get them off me. How do you get them off you, Sophia? What do you do? Like you curse them out? It's a lot of energy cussing people out.
Woo! It is. I can't cuss. I'm not even a good cusser outer.
That's what they said. They said
later. Like I'll be laying in the bed. I'd be like, oh, I should have said this. But in the moment, I am not good. I'd be like, I'm not as witty as I am.
No, my mom is the best cusser ever.
Oh, man. I want
with a few words. That part, silence is golden. You cannot let them see you sweat. You just go. Like silence is golden.
Sometimes silence is make you look like a punk, but go ahead. Not you, AA, but I'm talking about me. Like for real, really. Tell people they can play with you. You'd be like, man, I'm not about to entertain none of that.
Exactly. No, what it makes them think, no, Tiara, it makes them think they are not worthy of you taking the time to invest in engaging in their foolishness.
Okay. Well, then why don't they stop doing it?
She said, I've been cussing since I was a little kid. I can hurt with my words.
Oh. You got to teach us how to cuss good then.
Teach us how to cuss. Teach us how to cuss. Oh no. Again, the path of least resistance is the best. I feel like I've always felt like if you can love somebody enough, you can change who they are. One thing, I always taught my sons to be gentlemen, and they used to always run to try to open up doors for me and their sister, or for me mainly, because I said for me and their sister before. Kyle was like, no, that was for you, that wasn't for me. But they used to always run to try to open the door for me. And so my son told me when he went to college, he was like, Mom, you taught me to be a gentleman, but these girls, they're not worthy. And I said, yes, they are. He was like, Mom, you don't know. You didn't go to college. They're not nice like you. And I said, my thing is this. You don't have to lose yourself in being kind to people. You don't have to let anybody take advantage of you, but don't lose your integrity because you don't feel that they're worthy. You still operate in your integrity and be the best version of yourself that you could be, regardless of how they are, because you set the standard because you're a man. That's what I teach them. But they have their, what they call the villain or origin story, where somebody did hurt them. Now all bitches ain't shit. And now, it's that. And that's how, but you got to teach them how to, I have to constantly reinforce, especially for my sons, that listen, you're a man, you got to step above that. You got to step above that. And when they've seen something opposite, like my daughter said, well, why do you do it? And I was just like, I tell you, I was like, get out of here. I'm working. Go away. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it makes you wish that you nucked a little bit.
Yeah, because she did say, Mom, the reason why I do some of the things is because you never fought. You never fought back, Mom. You never fought back. And so she's like, I learned from you and I don't fight. And so then I let people take advantage of me. And I blame my dad. That's it. My dad. Because I got a lot of his traits. My dad is very, he's very passive and very meek. Now I will, I'll let a motherfucker know. But for the most part, my dad is more of a pushover. I'm not a pushover. I ain't gonna let nobody push over on me. But he's just that. And it just kind of seeped into my DNA.
You know what's not is my daughter is listen, Lauren is not, like, sometimes it'll be like Lauren will hear her dad say something and he just, sometimes he's just very traditional. He's a Southern man, we all kind of so he has his things about what women are supposed to do. So one day he was talking to her and she's like telling him he should do something that he should very much do. But, because of the way who it was coming from, and he was like, you're my child. You never talk to a man like that. And I think like little things like that, she'd be like, oh, the misogyny. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
her, and know about misogyny.
Now, this is before she was like 11.
But
what? I think that because of the way her dad is, I think that she's not going to take certain things from men. I love it. So even with like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she gonna buck up. She not gonna let you just say anything to her without her getting a little spicy, which is why I don't want to beat that spiciness out of her because, that means that sometimes I might catch a stray and be like, who you talking to? Yeah. But I would rather her go into the world and be like, well hold up. Because some days she be talking to her friends on the phone and I'll hear her in her room talking. I'll be walking by. She'd be like, well, first of all, what you not gonna do is talk to me like that. I'd be like I'm walking by her room door. Like, I'd be like, because I wasn't like that. Yeah. I was very much like, it's okay. You can talk to me that way. I don't care. I'm going to go home and lick my wounds, whatever it was. But I love that about my daughter. So I think that sometimes your kids can see you be a certain way and want to be the opposite of that. I'm not letting nobody talk to me that way.
But with that, do you guys think, because some a lot of parents will try to silence their children who are outspoken or outgoing. Yes. Because we try to cultivate them to do something different. Yeah. Don't be like this, and not to walk in their power. Yeah. Have you guys ever experienced, you guys in the chat, have y'all experienced like some, your parent just hampering who you are or dampening who you are, not allowing you to be you, or have been misunderstood? Because that was another thing. Me and my dad had, of course, that's my hero, right? So we always had this relationship where we would go back and forth, right? So by the time he got married, I was 18. He got married to this other crazy batshit lady, but we had our thing, right? We would joke around or whatever, and she would say, she come from not knowing the nature of our relationship. Mm-hmm. They had only been together 6 months. She was saying I was disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I've seen like step parents will come in and say, "Oh, she's being disrespectful towards her dad," but not really understanding the dynamic of their relationship,
Right.
and misunderstood it, and then was telling him, "Your daughter's being disrespectful." But that at that point, I'm 18, 19 now. This is after my dad said, "You hurt my feelings when I was being sassy when I was 13." We just, I just joke around. Even to this day, I always talk about my dad's nose. "Oh, dad, you got a big nose." He like takes one to know one. You got a big nose. We do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So. But you have other people, third parties will come in and say something, or you'll have parents that'll kind of stifle you from just being who you are because it's deemed to be disrespectful. Have you guys experienced that? Because some people might say that Lauren is being disrespectful, or she's doing
they
too
say
much,
it all the time. She's big, and she got like I said, she's big. She's but she's her mother and her father. She's the very hybrid of us. And so us understanding that we have got that, especially when we go back to the South and we're around my aunts who are like, "You gonna let her talk to you like that?" I'm like, "Oh, what?" Like, but I know her and I know her intention. And so it is what it is. I just don't want to smother it.
So Karen, who is an advocate of whooping the tyrant out of her kids, said my oldest said I hampered her and she became a people pleaser. So do you think those whoopings were really great? You said earlier, I'm whooping the tyrant out of you.
Right. So she became a people pleaser. Not that that's bad, Karen, but I mean, we just got, we gotta really, and that you don't know in the moment. It's not like Karen knew that.
Right, of course. But my question is,
to
this day, she's still advocating for whoopings because you got to whoop the tyrant out of them. So even though your daughter said this is how you made her feel, do you still think that was the right thing to do today, Karen?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Jasmine said it made me become totally submissive and total agreement in all relationships. I would have a difficult time standing up for myself until my late 30s because of fact. Yeah, really?
Same, Jasmine. Oh my God. In my 20s, I was like, and I think it was just because I had been, my thing was like, because I was a foster kid, basically living in my family. I literally was a ward of the state. I used to go to different people's house and I would have to adapt immediately to whatever that house culture was, whatever the culture was. And so I walk in and that's why.
I hope they like me. Is that where you were? I hope they like me. Hope they like me. Hope they like me.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. And so I learned like, you don't make too much commotion because you want to stay. It was a survival thing. And so when I became an adult, now as an adult now, I could walk into any room. I could walk into the trap house or the White House and be accepted. It's a blessing, right? But as a kid, not so much. As in my early 20s, not so much, because people would say stuff and I'd be like, I would just feel like I just was amicable in every situation, and that's not real. Like when I meet people that are like people pleasing and they don't have boundaries, I don't believe you. We can't be friends because that's not who you are in real life. You've just like buried the real you, and I don't know how I feel about
buried the real you. That's the part right there. But even in your 20s though, because I tell this to my kids all the time, like your prefrontal cortex ain't developed. You don't really get your real confidence though until you're in your 30s, and then you know who you start knowing who you are in your 30s. You know what you want in your 40s. You'll get booked by nobody else in your 50s. It's like all of those things, right? But in your 20s, I think everybody has a lot of insecurities with just trying to figure out like, who am I? What am I doing? Like, all those things. And so I think that may be part of it too, to some extent. Do you?
I mean, but like we keep talking about it, right? There are certain people that get it on in their 20s. And by the time that they're 40s, they're a gajillionaire, right? Because they've been, like my daughter is going to get it on. Like I want her to I just want her to walk in complete boldness. I want her to never let people play in her face. I just want her to have that out the gate. Yeah. And so, she spent 5th, 6th, 7th grade, she was bullied. We had to pull her out of school. I mean, I talk about this all the time. We went through so many changes. I had to take my daughter to the hospital, if you know what I mean. Like she had an evaluation because of what public school and some of the whack kids were doing to her in those spaces. So we kept her home this year and just poured into her. And it's been the best thing ever. So I don't want her to go backwards. I don't want her to, so I'll just say this, like, I want her to travel. Now we took her to some homecomings, got her around some people that look like her, because I think that makes a difference.
You going to Howard? She coming out here?
Yes, like she's
Yeah.
coming to Howard. So she got Auntie Constance. My other aunt
Yes.
lives like 20 minutes from campus. Her dad went to Howard, so she went to homecoming. She was like, "Oh my God."
Oh my
Like,
God,
and
it's a
ever
whole
since
different
she's been
world.
like, yes, like it just changes, so anyway, I'm saying that to say that I don't want her to be confused like that in her 20s. I just want her to just know.
Yeah. Sherry said the most confusing aspect, and I think this is for so many people, growing up was being punished for being outspoken to elder family members as children, but expecting us to stand up to society as adults. Isn't that the truth?
Mm,
When we're
mm,
outspoken, when we express ourselves, children to be seen and not heard. And then when they do express themselves, they're beat down for expressing themselves. But now
mm,
I'm supposed to just walk into that. And so it's confusing. And so even back then, of course, parenting doesn't come with a manual, but a lot of us, we're all traumatized from
mm,
different aspects of our childhood. I tell my
mm.
kids all the time, the things that you didn't like what I did, just do different. That's
Yeah,
it. I know I wasn't perfect. I could talk about the other parent all I want to, but I know I wasn't there a lot of times. I was preoccupied a lot of times, working, always trying to figure out, I'm in my head. So
yeah.
there's definitely some misses from my part, not with a bad heart. And I don't even think he had a bad heart or bad intention, because people don't wake up just a lot of people don't wake up just wanting to be evil. It's just part of maybe their upbringing, bringing in their baggage and how they respond and do things. But the things you didn't like about what I did, if you didn't like the fact that I'm always in my phone, and my daughter now, she's like, she even did a little or a report, or oral report about my mom is always on her phone, and now she's always on her phone. And now she sees, oh, now I see why you're always on your phone, because now she's in real estate, so she knows that I'm working. When I'm in the
Yeah.
car, when we were going on vacations, I'm working like it's 24/7. But I missed some important things by not being present, mentally present. And so those things do different. And that's what I say. There's always a ram in the bush. There's always redemption, I think, for everybody, as long as you have breath in your body. So with the things that you did wrong, try to right those wrongs, and
Yeah.
then just do different, for the
Yeah.
next generation. Do you feel like, for you, Karen, you being in your 60s, you probably have grandchildren. Do you think that your grandchildren should be beat?
Yeah.
Do you think your kids should raise their kids the way you raise your kids?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? It's so interesting. And there's two things that you said, so many things, but I just want to take a moment because even though kids had, like, you were just doing what you thought was right, right? Let me take care of my family. You had the family cards you were dealt with, maybe being with a less ambitious man, and
Mhm.
felt like what I know about women is it's like if they don't feel protective, or if they feel like they got to get up and get it, they're going to get up and get it.
Right.
Right. So like you saying, like, I got these mortgages, I got this company, I got all these responsibilities. You gotta maintain all of that and
Yeah.
still create a quality of life for everybody living at home.
Hard.
So if anything, I would see as a child, even though I would see that as a sacrifice. Like, man, I'm sure they see it now. My
Yeah.
mom sacrificed so much for me.
Yeah.
Like you literally sacrificed yourself.
I did.
And
And I
for
had those
everybody.
conversations. I had those conversations with them when they were little. Mommy got to go. Do you? And they'd be like, Mommy, I know you're doing this for us.
Yeah.
But it still don't stop them saying, Mom, I
Yeah.
had childhood trauma when you wasn't around. You don't even
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I thought you was, I did all this for y'all so that you guys could have this great life. And the things that were my values were when I was growing up, my parents never ate at the dinner table together. We never ate at the dinner table. My mama was in her room, my daddy was on the couch, and then the kids, we eat at different times, whatever. We didn't have that family bond. That's
Yeah.
one thing. So I made
Yeah.
sure we did that. The other
Yep.
thing was I don't think until we was grown and my parents was good and divorced, rode in the car together as a family. That was
Mhm.
huge to me. That's something that's so small. We always were together and we wrote, and I could tell you hundreds of pictures of the whole family, all six of us. Every time we hundreds of those pictures of us being in the car together. Those were two things that I wanted to accomplish. And I did. Everything else
Mm.
fell to shit. But I did those two things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's that, right? You know what? And I mean, this can kind of be my final thought because I know we got to, I got another show to get
Mhm.
on
Yeah.
that I may want to drag you on. But anyway, there, I now, my mother came back into my life seriously when I was 38 years old. Right. She said, I'm ready. She was about 58 at the time. She was like, I'm ready to be your mother, and I really want you to give me the opportunity to do that. And
Mm.
so it was rough. I went and got a therapist then, as she was trying to integrate herself into my life. I had to have neck surgery. The scar is somewhere right here, but I had to have neck surgery to put a disc in my neck. And my mom says, I'm going to come to California and be with you. And so she did for like a month, and she drove me crazy and all of the things. But, you know, it was like, she was like, I want a relationship with Lauren, and I want to do right and
You're
all
her
of
only
these
child?
things.
You're her only child?
No, my mother has other children. I was her first, and my mother actually gave up all of her children. You know,
Mm.
she gave up all of her children. Um, so she tells me, and she has nightmares, but she has this reoccurring nightmare where she is like, well, she's what she calls it a nightmare. She says, in the dream, I am raising you all and all of my children under one house, and I'm just like the perfect mother. I
Mm.
take care of you all. I do everything. I go to all of the basketball games in this dream, and then I wake up in reality, and it makes me cry every time I wake up. So it feels like a nightmare when I wake up. Right?
Boo.
So
See, that's
what I learned from that is I never want to be my mother in that sense where I regret. You know, when I like, I want to be, you know, when we go to Miami and we do all these trips together, Constance, working, and even, you know, to Atlanta, when we do, Lauren is coming, right? Because
yeah,
I just don't want her to feel like that. I don't want to be like, I wish I was there for you, and I wish I would. Now, there's a lot of things that my mom got wrong, and it was because, you know, of her mental health issues, but she couldn't help that,
yeah,
right? But like, you know, as an adult, she really deals with that regret. And that's just one thing that I learned from her. Like, make sure that during these formative years, when Lauren, you have her, to make sure you have her, and you pour into her. Because now it's like, me and my mom have a relationship. She calls me every day. She wants to talk, but she'd be like, I know it's just not the same. Like,
yeah.
I wish I was able to parent you,
Mm.
you
So
know.
yeah, that's a nightmare. And you know what? Regret is the worst thing that you never want to live your life thinking, I wish I would have done this. I should
Yeah.
have done this. Maybe I could have done this better. Because that is torturous to the
Yeah.
day you die.
To
That
this day. I'd be like, Mom, it's okay. It's
yeah,
okay. It's okay. We turned out great. This is
yeah,
great. But she's still just, it haunts her. It
yeah,
haunts
yeah.
her.
Man. You know, you guys in the audience, y'all might be thinking, okay, what does this have to do with
Yeah.
money? It has everything to do with it because healed people, they're able to build wealth more freely. When you have that freedom, when you're healed, you can build. Broken
Mm,
people, they repeat cycles. You know,
yeah.
traumatized people, they self sabotage. And financially literate people, emotionally grounded people, children grow up, they to be very economically sound leaders. And if we
Yeah.
really want to close a wealth gap, we have to address the emotional poverty that we had growing up in our households. We have to address that. Our children
Mm,
can't thrive financially if they're healing from trauma. We got to
yeah.
correct that. We got to fix that. They can't lead if they're stuck in survival mode. We got to
Yeah.
correct that. They can't build if they're constantly battling these voices in their heads that they're thinking they're not enough because we beat the enoughness out of them.
Mm. Come
When
on,
we
preach to
build
me.
wealth, y'all, we build humans. We build healed and whole humans. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what we do. And so that's the whole point of the conversation is, having that debate on whether we should whoop or not. That's all, futile, right? Because at the
Hmm.
end of the day, we're just trying to build whole people.
Yeah.
So my challenge to everybody that's watching is think about the way you were parented. Think about what you've also normalized in your life. Think about ask yourself, am I parenting my children from pain or with purpose?
Hmm.
Because that's the most important thing I think that we need to be looking at, even if you're a grandmother, because that's what my mom did. My mom, she always says, I wasn't the greatest mother. She's a dope ass grandmother. She still get
Yeah.
on my nerves as a mother, but she's an amazing grandmother. So you still
Same.
have, yeah, you still have
Same.
time to get it right.
Yeah.
If you're ready to break the cycle, if you want to build wealth, that's the reason why we do the Grow Your Money Club, so that you can
Yeah.
learn how to grow your money and not blow your money. That's what this is all about. You got anything else you want to say before we head on out of here?
Yeah, y'all just be blessed and be mindful, right? We want to be mindful. I know that life is going quickly, and things are
Man.
happening, and just try not to get caught up in, I would say, the things that are happening to the point where you're either neglecting or it's causing you to be so emotional or angry or whatever that you're taking it out on the people that love you. It's so funny. It makes me think of, we were having a conversation yesterday about, like I said, how people will you know, take shit from their bosses and let them treat them however, and then they come home and hurt the very people that they look at and that love them every day. So just, I would just say, be mindful of the way that you are experiencing life. We are spiritual beings having a very, like, this physical experience. So just make sure that, your spirit, you're being mindful of where your spirit is, and that you're taking care of yourself so you can take care of others.
Amen. Hey, yes, I love it. All right, we're gonna see you tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel.